The summer's been busy for sure. I mean, I found 3 bags behind the house in a couple of months.
Now at 5, thieves breaking into cars, stealing everything. How neighbors are helping neighbors get their stuff back.
High pressure bringing beautiful weather to end the work week, but we are going to talk about that heat and humidity building for the weekend.
2 men from Fishers now accused of being terrorists. We sit down with the U.S. Attorney's Office and find out more about the brothers and what's next for them.
And happening tonight, major closures on a local interstate. Who is impacted? Now you can get around this mess.
This is breaking news from RTV6, working for you.
Now at 5, we begin with breaking news out of West Lafayette in Tippecanoe County. Emergency management officials report 5 homes in the Lindbergh Village subdivision caught on fire. The cause still not known. The neighborhood just outside of West Lafayette. We have a crew on the way who will bring you the very latest on this developing breaking story on the RTV6 app as well as on air as we get those details into the newsroom. Now at 5, to a story about neighbors helping neighbors. It is happening in Irvington on the city's east side. Thieves are breaking into cars, stealing whatever they can.
RTV6's Nicole Griffin shows us how one man who's lived in the area for more than a decade is trying to help his neighbors out by returning their stolen property. Over the past several months, a man who lives here in the Irvington neighborhood has been finding stolen property scattered all around his alley behind his home. Just this week, he found a backpack right here in this area and was able to return it to the owner.
It's more about availability, you know, crime of opportunity. It's here, grab it, gone.
Steve Henry has lived in Irvington for around 20 years and says petty theft has always been a problem. But lately he's been finding the stolen items dumped all throughout his alley.
They just dump it out on the ground. There's always stuff everywhere, you know. You try to pick through it, see if you can find something that may have some identifier. I found checkbooks back here and IDs.
These are photos he's taken and posted on the Irvington Chatter Facebook page in effort to find the owner. So far, he's been successful. Just this week, he found the same backpack that was stolen and left behind in April. And once again, he was able to get it back to the owner. He ultimately hopes it serves as a reminder to his neighbors that thieves are targeting the area, so they need to take steps to protect themselves.
The biggest thing is to make them aware that this happens. Hide your stuff, lock your car. It's a crime of opportunity. It's here, it's quick, they're gone before anybody really knows what happens, you know.
Coming up tonight at 6, we'll talk with the owner of the backpack who says she appreciates neighbors like Steve that are looking out for one another. Nicole Griffin, RTV6.
Thanks, Nicole. And if you have a problem and all you're getting is the runaround, let us know. Email us at workingforyou@rtv6.com. Now moving to your Storm Team 6 forecast. What a gorgeous Friday evening here in central Indiana. The sun is out and the humidity is for once low. You're looking over downtown Indianapolis from our Salesforce Tower Cam.
And we applaud that. Storm Team 6 meteorologist Kyle Mounts is here. Kyle, while Kevin was here, no humidity. While you're here, no humidity. We're loving it, right?
Yeah, it is beautiful, especially for July here,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
And tomorrow's going to be pretty nice as well. We'll gradually get back into that humidity, but I want to show you this. The humidity is so low that we're looking at the temperature and the heat index. The heat index is actually a little bit lower than the actual temperature, so it feels like 83 in Indy with our actual temperature at 85. Feels like 83 in Lafayette, your temperature 84, and it's 82 degrees right now in Columbus. Why? Well, because that humidity is so low and that dew point in the lower 50s, thanks in part to this northerly component to our wind. It's been fairly light throughout the day, only about 5 to 10 miles per hour, and that's keeping us nice and quiet. In fact, as we look at the satellite and radar, it is a quiet scan here across central Indiana. So if you are going to be heading off and starting off your weekend with a little music here at Symphony on the Prairie, your temperature 87 degrees at 7 o'clock. We'll be in the lower 80s at 10 with that sunset at 9:14 and a comfortable start to the weekend. Temperatures right around 60 degrees.
2 brothers accused of being terrorists living in Hamilton County, and federal authorities say their neighborhood was not in danger. We sat down today with the U.S. Attorney whose office will prosecute Moyad and Mahdeed Danan, both brothers living in Fishers, arrested in May and made their first court appearance yesterday in Indianapolis. The government accuses both brothers of manufacturing these weapons they intended to sell to the terrorist group known as ISIS. The men had no idea, according to authorities, that they were under surveillance and were dealing with an undercover federal agent. The government says this is another example of how ISIS uses the internet to recruit people around the world.
The way these things happen in these small towns, in this case, the Dannon brothers and Fishers 2 years ago, Musla in Brownsburg, is through the internet and through different forms of social media, those platforms.
More of our conversation with the U.S. Attorney tonight on the news at 6. He says a trial date for the Dannon brothers will be set within the next 70 days. And new at 6, how federal authorities became aware of the men there in Fishers. In our Democracy 2020 coverage just in tonight, former Vice President and Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden will visit Indianapolis later this month. Biden will speak Thursday, July the 25th at the National Urban League Conference. Biden, as you know, is one of the many candidates vying for the Democratic nomination to go up against President Trump in the 2020 presidential election.
There's a big headache coming for drivers that will begin tonight. NDOT will close whole sections of I-65 on the south side of Indianapolis. This affects all lanes of southbound I-65 from the south split to I-465. This is a live look right here at part of the area from our NDOT camera. Working for you, our Aaron Lish has the routes you can take to make your drive a little smoother.
We had a lot of rain in May and June, and that caused delays for construction crews. And with that, there are going to be some major interstate closures so they can finish up the road work.
Starting at 7 tonight will be a big one. All lanes of I-65 southbound will be closed from the south split to I-465. To get around it, take I-70 westbound to I-465 eastbound, back to I-65 eastbound. Things should open back up in the afternoon on July 22nd. Next up, all lanes of I-65 southbound from the north split to the south split will be shut down beginning tonight at 9 p.m. If you're heading from the north, take I-70 eastbound to I-465 southbound, back to I-65 southbound. From downtown, get on I-70 westbound and take it to the I-465 southbound eastbound, back to the I-65 southbound. That will only last through the weekend. And finally, at 9 tonight, all lanes of I-65 going southbound from I-865 to I-465 will be closed. You can go eastbound on I-865 to I-465 southbound, back to I-65 southbound to get around the closures. That will reopen July 29th. So what's the reason for all this construction? We ask NDOT.
Correct some winter damage that we've had in the past couple of years with really strange hot, cold temperatures, freeze, thaw cycles, and that's where we get all the potholes from. So we're really trying to do this so that our winters are better.
Make sure to get out the door a little earlier since you may have to make adjustments and take these alternate routes as the construction is underway. Aaron Lish, RTV6.
New information now at 5. Investigators in Puerto Rico say they're taking many steps in their investigation into an 18-month-old Indiana girl's fatal fall from a cruise ship. Police in Puerto Rico are exploring possible negligence by Royal Caribbean Cruises. A Public Security Secretary Elmer Roman says that multiple angles are now under investigation. Chloe Wiegand from South Bend area fell to her death Sunday from an open window on the Freedom of the Seas ship when it was docked in Puerto Rico. She slipped from her grandfather's hands. And this just into the RTV6 newsroom. Police in Muncie have identified a person of interest in connection to an attempted bank robbery this week. Investigators are searching for 32-year-old Jeremy Snyder. Police say this could be the man who walked into the Prime Trust Financial Federal Credit Union in Muncie on Wednesday and demanded cash. A customer tried to intervene in that robbery and was shot at. The customer was treated for non-life-threatening injuries. Police say Snyder is a person of interest in the robbery. He should be considered armed and dangerous. Officers say if you see him, you're asked to call 911 and do not approach him.
Still ahead at 5:30 on RTV6, keeping kids off the streets is a challenge in many communities, including Indianapolis. Our Scripps team found a man who believes the solution rests on two wheels. The full story coming up on the Now Indy.
And next at 5, the burial plans for the late Senator Richard Lugar just in tonight. But first, let's check in with Kyle.
And Raphael, tonight, Tropical Storm Barry is churning there in the Gulf of Mexico and could eventually bring some rain to central Indiana. We'll talk about our rising rain chances. You're watching RTV6 News at 5.
Indiana.com.
Welcome back to RTV6 News at 5. New tonight, we are learning when late Senator Richard Lugar will be buried. We have confirmed with the Lugar Center that his burial is scheduled for July 24th at Arlington National Cemetery. It is a private ceremony for close friends and family. Lugar died in April. He is remembered as a United States Senator who gained bipartisan respect for his influence in foreign affairs. Lugar is also remembered for his impact on the city of Indianapolis, where he served 2 terms as mayor. He spent 36 years in the Senate. Lugar was 87 years old when he died.
Sorry, Amanda. New at 5. We're learning Indiana state government cash reserves grew faster than expected over the past year, and that could be good news for your roads. There's nearly $2.3 billion in the state's coffers, and the governor is now proposing some of that money be spent on several planned construction projects. State officials say Indiana closed the 2019 fiscal year with almost $500 million more in reserves than a year ago. Governor Holcomb is recommending $300 million go toward projects including upgrades to US 31 in northern Indiana. Other projects include a new veterinary hospital at Purdue University and building projects at the Indiana State Fairgrounds, Ball State University, and Ivy Tech State College in Columbus. Big news tonight out of the nation's capital. Labor Secretary Alexander Acosta says he is resigning following scrutiny of his handling of a 2008 secret plea deal with wealthy financier Jeffrey Epstein. Epstein is accused of sexually abusing dozens of underage girls. President Donald Trump announced the news with Acosta by his side and said he had not asked for his resignation. Acosta was the U.S. attorney in Miami when he oversaw a 2008 non-prosecution agreement with Epstein.
Developing tonight, Tropical Storm Barry is slowly moving north and west of the Gulf of Mexico, and as you can see on our RTV6 radar, forecasters say it could bring up to 2 feet of rain in parts of already drenched Louisiana, which could cause disastrous flooding. ABC's Elizabeth Herr is in New Orleans, where officials are warning everyone to be prepared for the worst.
Barry may still be miles away, but Grand Isle, Louisiana is already underwater, and with Barry still gaining strength, from New Orleans to Baton Rouge, Morgan City, and all along the coast of Louisiana.
I've been here for my whole life, so yeah, this is a normal thing, you know, stay prepared.
Most residents heeding warnings from authorities and preparing for Barry.
Just trying to secure my doors and stuff. Okay. So we about to take a ride out of town.
He's not alone. Tourists are also scrambling to get out of town, and for some, easier said than done.
If I have to be stuck somewhere, I'd rather be stuck in my house than stuck in a hotel.
Tried to go home, but that's been unsuccessful. We tried to go home early, so we're just going to wait out the storm.
Authorities saying on their end, the work is continuing to keep everyone safe. So far, activating thousands of National Guardsmen and closing hundreds of floodgates, including this near Lake Pontchartrain just this afternoon.
Nobody should take this storm lightly just because it's supposed to be a Category 1. It's always been about the rain, and that remains a very significant threat.
With the Mississippi River expected to crest at 19 feet, just inches from the top of the levees, the river is higher than it's ever been with a storm this size approaching. But officials say they remain confident the levees will not fail. And authorities say because Barry is not a fast-moving storm, they're asking residents to stay vigilant even after Barry makes landfall, because they say some areas could see rain, not just for hours, but all weekend. Elizabeth Herr, ABC News, New Orleans.
Happening tomorrow, a community will lead a huge cleanup effort nearly 1 month after that tornado ripped through the Ellettsville area there in Monroe County. It eventually, as you may recall, left a 4-mile path of damage, a lot of trees down and a lot of damage to homes. Volunteers hope to make a major dent in the cleanup work following that EF2 tornado. Barbara Uli, the Washington Township trustee in northern Monroe County, is organizing this event. Now, volunteers are to meet starting at 8 in the morning at the Full Gospel Tabernacle Church on Crossover Road there in Bloomington. People who have chainsaws and yard tools are urged to bring them along. In addition to destroying 4 homes, Uli says the tornado cut through a heavily wooded area, leaving a tremendous number of tree limbs that need to be removed. IndyCar driver Robert Wickens will be back behind the wheel of the car leading up to this weekend's race in Toronto.
And it won't be a race car, but this is video of Wickens practicing because he will be leading a parade lap at the Honda Indy Toronto race on Sunday. Wickens posted this footage to his Twitter page. He will be driving a special Acura NSX that team sponsor Aero has equipped with hand controls. It's the next step in his recovery from that horrible wreck last year in Pocono. His fiancée, Carly, will be in the passenger seat.
It definitely...
And a reminder, the American Red Cross has declared a blood emergency. The organization says it has less than a 3-day supply of most blood types. The Red Cross is urging you to act now and schedule an appointment to give blood. It's an opportunity for you to save lives.
If you can help, please do so. Now, time to check your forecast. What a beautiful 8+ day in central Indiana.
It's so nice. I don't really want to be here right now because it's so nice outside.
Yeah, we got a lot of sunshine. I'm sure a lot of people after the workday going to take advantage of it, maybe head out there for a walk. And we're going to have some very comfortable temperatures here right on into the day tomorrow as well. Right now, we're at 85 degrees in downtown, 84 in Kokomo and Bloomington. That wind is fairly light out there. And we mentioned it's out of that northerly direction that's been bringing in that less humid air. And it really does make the difference here this time of year. As we check out your temperatures over the next 12 hours, we'll stair-step through the 70s and eventually into the lower 60s by tomorrow morning, and many areas will start right around 60 into the upper 50s. As we take your Saturday forecast here hour by hour, once again, we're going to see a lot of sunshine here. Those temperatures, though, will warm a little faster tomorrow than they did today. We're into the lower 70s at 9 a.m., right around 80 degrees for you at 11, and eventually those highs upper 80s to around 90 degrees. So we've had a little break from the 90-degree heat, but it does come back tomorrow. 91 for us in Bloomington, 90 in Indy, 89 for you in the Peru and Kokomo areas, and 90 degrees in Muncie. Tomorrow, still going to be fairly comfortable as far as the humidity. It will be in that pleasant to getting sticky range, but then the second half of the weekend it gets more getting sticky to oppressive. It's that tropical air you can wear kind of feeling day as we get into Sunday. And Sunday's also when we may have a pop-up shower or storm, but most of us are going to go through this weekend without a drop of rain. Here's TrueCast for you. 7:30 Sunday morning, the mild start to the day with temperatures right around 70 degrees, so it won't be as cool the second half of the weekend to start. And into the afternoon, the lower 90s will return. That best chance for that pop-up shower or storm really going to be over the northern third of the state. We talked about Barry, expected to make landfall along the coast of Louisiana tomorrow. And then as we get into next week, that's when it could be bringing some rain to central Indiana here. This is TrueCast Tuesday throughout the day on Wednesday. Not expecting it to be widespread and heavy, and actually we could use some rainfall here. You see that in the 7-day planning forecast after things continue to be dry the next several days. Best chance for rain for us Tuesday and Wednesday. That brings another break from some of the heat. We'll be back into the 80s with the clouds and rain, but we surge again by Friday, 93.
Okay, summer here to stay, yes?
Yes, it is.
It's been a nice little break, though, from these extensive
here and there. That's right.
Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate you. A Georgia woman gets ticketed by police after her 3-year-old son takes an emergency potty break. But this case takes a new turn this week. Details next on the News at 5.
Working for you.
A very good day to you. I'm Julie Grant with Court TV, and we continue bringing you live gavel-to-gavel coverage of a heartbreaking trial happening right now in Georgia. 91-year-old Adam Bennett was allegedly beaten to death by the person who was supposed to be caring for him. Landon Terrell worked at the assisted living facility where Bennett was a resident, and now Terrell is being accused of felony murder. But was it an accident? That's what Landon Terrell says. Did Bennett just fall fall and injure himself during the fall. That's what Landon Terrell has told investigators all along. So were those bruises found on Bennett's body caused when Terrell lifted him up from his bed? The defense is saying that Terrell accidentally hit Bennett's body with a metal bar when trying to get him up from the ground. The prosecution rested its case yesterday after calling 10 different witnesses. This morning, the defense called a forensic pathologist as their only witness. That expert gave some testimony that the defense is hoping will refute the medical examiner's testimony that Bennett was beaten to death. And after Dr. James Downs' testimony this morning, the defense rested their case. Then, closing arguments. Terrell did not take the stand in this case. We might even have a verdict in this case today. We'll continue our live gavel-to-gavel coverage for you, as well as legal analysis all throughout the day right here on Court TV. I'm Julie Grant. Now back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Julie. You can stream Court TV 24/7 and watch a number of trials and cases at courttv.com. Every parent knows that potty training your little one can be messy because accidents do happen.
Well, a Georgia mom can now breathe easier tonight after she almost paid a big price for her 3-year-old's potty training fiasco that happened, unfortunately, in public.
So in April, a Georgia deputy gave Brooke Johns a ticket for disorderly conduct after her 3-year-old son peed in a gas station parking lot. Brooke was very pregnant at the time, too, and she told the deputy her 3-year-old was still potty training and it was an accident.
But he said the emergency bathroom break in the parking lot was a big no-no. Come on now, and wrote her a ticket for disorderly conduct. The state of Georgia seemed to be on the deputy's side until this week, 3 months after that incident.
Mom was trying to be a good mom. You know, child had an emergency to come up, and mom took care of the emergency. That's what we expect of all good moms.
And perhaps she was not as ready to respond to the officer and was somewhat short with him when she could have been more patient, but she was in a bad situation.
She was in a bad situation.
So the disorderly conduct ticket Brooke had was thrown out. She's not in trouble, and the deputy is not in trouble.
And Brooke will probably tell this story at her son's rehearsal dinner and will hopefully be able to laugh about it one day. The things that happen sometimes, but luckily it all ended well. Coming up, all new on the news at 6, Governor Holcomb says Indiana's farmers are hurting. What he's asking from the federal government to help. But first, on the Now Indy with Amanda, this story at 5:30.
Trees and brush growing into the roadway here. Stop signs even being blocked by trees. I'm Stephanie Wade, looking into if this is a private property issue or a city problem.
Let's try it. Fast foodies know the deal.